When most people think about the Titanic, the story sounds almost comforting in its simplicity. Big ship, one iceberg, one really bad night. History's most famous boating mistake, the end, except that's not really what happened. The disturbing truth hidden inside one of history's most famous disasters is that giant catastrophes almost never happen because of one spectacular mistake. They happen because dozens of ordinary mistakes quietly line up like dominoes, patiently waiting for someone to bump the first one. The iceberg was just the final domino. Long before the collision, warning signs were everywhere. Other ships had reported dangerous ice conditions throughout the North Atlantic. Wireless operators received multiple ice warnings during the day. Some messages reached the bridge. Others were delayed, interrupted, or given lower priority because the radio operators were busy sending passengers personal messages. At the time, wireless communication was still relatively new, and passenger traffic often competed with navigational information. Nobody woke up that morning thinking, today seems like a great day to ignore safety. Everyone simply had another explanation: we've seen ice before, the weather is clear, the ship is enormous. We'll slow down later if necessary. This is something psychologists call the normalization of risk. When nothing bad has happened for a while, people slowly begin treating risky situations as normal. Every successful shortcut quietly convinces you that the shortcut is actually safe. It's why people text while driving after getting away with it dozens of times. It's why factories ignore small equipment problems until something explodes. It's why homeowners keep saying they'll replace that suspicious electrical outlet next weekend. Your brain starts confusing luck with evidence. The Titanic itself represented another dangerous idea: confidence in technology. The ship was widely described as extraordinarily safe, and over time, public confidence blurred into something much bigger. People began talking about it as though modern engineering had finally outsmarted nature. Nature did not receive that memo. Even after the collision, the situation didn't immediately feel like a disaster. Passengers continued chatting, some went back to bed. Others were annoyed at being asked to put on life jackets. Imagine someone knocking on your hotel room door at 2 in the morning, "Please leave immediately." Your first thought probably isn't, "Excellent, this sounds urgent." It's more likely, "Is this a drill? Did somebody burn toast?" Humans are surprisingly resistant to accepting sudden reality. Our brains crave continuity. If 5 minutes ago everything felt normal, your mind desperately tries to make the next 5 minutes fit that same story. That's comforting. It's also dangerous. Then came another uncomfortable truth. There weren't enough lifeboats for everyone. Today that sounds absurd. How do you build one of the largest ships on Earth and not include enough lifeboats? Because the regulations of the time hadn't kept up with ship size. Requirements were based on outdated assumptions. And many people believed the ship itself would act as the primary lifeboat long enough for rescue vessels to arrive. The disaster exposed something history repeats constantly: technology evolves much faster than safety rules. We invent amazing new things. Then we slowly discover all the creative ways they can fail. Cars became common before seat belts became standard. Air travel expanded before many modern safety procedures existed. The internet connected billions of people before anyone really understood online misinformation. Innovation sprints, safety usually jogs behind. Perhaps the most haunting lesson isn't about ships at all, it's about human thinking. Nobody on board had access to the complete picture. Each person saw only one small piece. One officer knew about speed. Another knew about ice reports. Engineers understood the flooding. Radio operators handled communications. Passengers experienced calm. No single individual fully understood how quickly everything was converging toward catastrophe. That's still how many disasters happen today. Organizations become collections of people holding puzzle pieces without realizing the picture they are creating. The Titanic reminds us that disasters are often less like lightning strikes and more like slow-motion chain reactions. By the time everyone finally realizes what's happening, the hardest part isn't solving the problem. It's outrunning all the earlier decisions that quietly built it. Basically, history's most famous iceberg wasn't the real villain. It just showed up at exactly the wrong time to meet a very long list of completely human mistakes. Imagine walking into a packed stadium, concert, or festival. Music's playing, people are laughing. Someone nearby paid way too much for a bottle of water and somehow convinced themselves it was worth it. Everything feels completely normal. Now imagine something unexpected happens. Maybe it's a loud bang, maybe someone shouts, maybe there's smoke. Within seconds, thousands of people are all trying to make the exact same decision at exactly the same time. And that's where history has repeatedly revealed one of the darkest truths about human behavior. People don't become irrational during disasters. They become predictably human. Many of history's deadliest crowd disasters weren't caused by monsters, explosions, or collapsing buildings. They were caused by ordinary people desperately trying to survive together. That sounds impossible until you realize how crowds actually behave. Most of us imagine we stay in complete control of our own movements. In a dense crowd, that illusion disappears frighteningly fast. Once enough people are packed together, the crowd begins behaving less like individuals and more like a liquid. Pressure travels through bodies the way waves travel through water. Someone pushed 50 feet away can unintentionally move you. You aren't choosing to step forward anymore, physics is choosing for you. That's one reason crowd crushes become so deadly. It's not always about people falling. It's often about people simply losing the ability to breathe because the pressure around them becomes overwhelming, the terrifying part. Many victims remain standing, which means people nearby don't always realize what's happening until it's far too late. History has shown another disturbing pattern. When panic starts, humans overwhelmingly head toward exits they already know. Even if several safer exits are available, why? Because stress shrinks your thinking. Instead of exploring unfamiliar options, your brain grabs the first solution that feels familiar. It's cognitive autopilot. The same reason you sometimes drive toward work on your day off without even realizing it. Except now the consequences are much bigger than accidentally ending up in your office parking lot. There's also something called social proof. If everyone around you starts moving one direction, your brain quietly assumes they know something you don't. The problem is, they are usually making the exact same assumption about everyone else. Congratulations. Thousands of people are now following one another based on absolutely zero reliable information. Humanity occasionally invents flash mobs. Unfortunately, it also invents panic mobs. The lesson hidden inside these tragedies isn't that crowds are evil. Crowds are incredibly cooperative most of the time. People often help strangers, protect children, and even risk their own lives for people they've never met. The danger comes when cooperation collides with limited space, fear, and basic physics. Our instincts evolved for tribes of dozens, not arenas holding tens of thousands. Your ancient brain still thinks, follow the group. Modern architecture sometimes replies, that doorway is only 4 feet wide. Basically, one of evolution's smartest survival shortcuts can become surprisingly dangerous when thousands of people all use it at once. Imagine waking up one morning, checking the news, and reading that an invisible threat is already spreading through your city. Nobody can smell it. Nobody can hear it. Half the people around you look completely healthy. The other half are buying enough toilet paper to survive the apocalypse and a very messy arts and crafts project. Welcome to one of history's most unsettling patterns. During almost every major epidemic or pandemic, the disease itself is only part of the disaster. The other part is information, or more accurately, bad information. History loves reminding us that humans are remarkably clever at inventing explanations when they don't have answers. Unfortunately, those explanations aren't always useful. Sometimes they're actively dangerous. Long before modern medicine understood germs, people had to make sense of outbreaks with whatever knowledge they had. If an entire neighborhood suddenly became sick, something had to be responsible. Maybe the air, maybe bad smells, maybe a curse, maybe the stars. Maybe your extremely suspicious-looking neighbor who definitely owned too many cats. When people don't understand what's happening, the brain hates leaving the mystery unsolved. It starts connecting dots that were never connected in the first place. It's like seeing two people wearing red shirts and deciding they are secretly part of an international conspiracy. Your brain loves patterns. Sometimes a little too much. One disturbing truth hidden inside famous outbreaks is that certainty spreads faster than evidence. Think about rumors. They don't need laboratory testing. They don't need peer review. They don't even need to make sense. They just need to sound convincing. A confident lie often feels more satisfying than an uncertain truth because uncertainty is uncomfortable. Your brain would rather grab onto almost any explanation than admit, "I genuinely don't know." That's why simple answers become so popular during complicated disasters. This one thing caused everything. This one miracle will fix it. This one group is responsible. Reality almost never works that neatly. Real science is frustratingly slow. It asks questions. It changes its mind when better evidence appears. It updates recommendations. To some people that looks like weakness. In reality, it's exactly how learning works. Imagine if your GPS refused to recalculate after finding a road closure because it didn't want to look inconsistent. Congratulations. You're now confidently driving into a lake. History also shows another strange instinct. People often respond to invisible dangers by focusing on visible ones. During outbreaks, someone may obsess over disinfecting every grocery item, while ignoring much more significant risks. The brain likes tangible actions. Wiping a table feels productive. Waiting for reliable information feels boring. Humans don't enjoy boring during emergencies. We enjoy doing something, anything. Even if that something has very little effect. Psychologists sometimes call this the action bias. When uncertainty becomes unbearable, action itself starts feeling like safety. It isn't always. One of the saddest patterns throughout history is how quickly fear changes the way people see one another. Neighbors become suspicious. Strangers become potential threats. People begin avoiding anyone who looks different, sounds unfamiliar, or simply reminds them of whatever rumor is currently circulating. The disease becomes biological, the fear becomes social. And social fear has an incredible ability to outlive the original emergency. Some communities spent years rebuilding trust after epidemics ended. Not because the illness remained, because the suspicion did. Another uncomfortable lesson is how difficult exponential growth is for the human brain to understand. If 10 people become 20, it doesn't seem alarming. 20 becomes 40, 40 becomes 80, still manageable. Then suddenly the numbers explode, and everyone wonders how things changed so quickly. They didn't. Our intuition simply isn't designed for exponential change. We're much better at understanding straight lines than curves. It's why saving money slowly feels disappointing, until compound interest quietly performs mathematical magic. It's also why diseases can appear manageable, right until they aren't. History repeatedly reminds us that invisible threats demand visible discipline: handwashing, clean water, vaccination, isolation when necessary. None of those are dramatic, none make particularly exciting movie scenes. Nobody wins an action award for properly washing their hands. Yet these ordinary habits have saved millions of lives. That's another disturbing truth. Some of history's greatest lifesavers are painfully boring. Not giant machines, not secret formulas, soap, clean water, ventilation, organization. Basically, humans are excellent at turning invisible threats into dramatic stories. When the boring solutions were often the real heroes all along.